Motion to adjourn.
Recording in progress.
To adjourn the March 30th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries, and we apologize for that.
Yes. Let's, and then, is that a record for you, like, for us? Let's not. Probably not. So one record you don't want. No. When we get to the, we can do February 1st, when we get to March, I can do something like that. Change under council's advice on the March. What we just did.
That was, you know, when you're on Zoom, sometimes you're just ready to leave. We're all there. So anyway, I do call the meeting of April 15th, Axe Day, Jimmy's birthday, to order. I think we've covered most of these things, but so when we get to the March 30th, we need to wait to approve those before we see something. Is that what you're
Yeah, I think we can do February 1st and just go ahead and approve that.
Okay. All right, I need entertain a motion if you will. This meeting.
Make a motion to approve the February meetings. And it's second.
Moved and seconded to approve the February 18th, 2026 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So it's not first.
Yes, so on Daniel to talk about March 30th.
Okay, so on March 30th, we put the original one in the packet. We did make a slight change to the very end of it. So everything is the same. Call to order section, the action discussion items, we did all of that properly. At the end of it, under Aaron's advice, we changed the adjournment section to just simply say that essentially you can read it there, that we just followed on. Yeah. That's what happened, and Aaron has advised that we actually put the adjournment of March 30th on the April 15th section to do it on April 15th before we do the call order section. So that will actually be it's because it's actually done.
So we can vote on that. All right.
I mean, I think you can still approve the March 30th minutes. I'm just saying that the adjournment next time, because we didn't adjourn on March 30th. Yeah,
I move we accept the minutes of the March 30th meeting as presented. Scott Wood.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We approve the March 30th meeting as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, aye. Motion carries. I think we're down to the summary of the revenue and expenditures for fiscal year 2026.
You want to know what that happened?
Well, that was very unusual, and we all just started clicking off, and I wanted to get back on thinking, screwed up. But, you know, I tried it, it didn't work because it's over and everybody was gone. Anyway. All right, it's up to you then.
All right. So we're at the financial revenue reports. That's your first section there. This is fiscal year 26. We still have half April, all of May, and all of June to go in fiscal year 26. Fiscal year 27 officially. So right now, as of April 6th, we're setting at 405,468.78 total revenue on the year. We'll have some more to deposit this week, which will get us up into more. And then we also, as you will see in the next two reports, still to this point, and this will increase as we keep getting the late dealers to renew. We still have a few powerful cycle dealers, as you'll see later. You'll see here we've had 390,938 in total licensing revenue for the fiscal year 26. That's 403, 302, 7,000 geo code. That's all licensing revenue, all license fees for fiscal year up to present. That next report, which is the DL account number 403,201,000, that accounts for all of our licensing penalties and late fees. So they're separated out in that way. So at this point, we've had $14,450 in late fees paid out. You'll notice that bottom line item there is, 4,550. Well, 4,500 of that payment was Start Future USA, which, if you remember from February, you guys approved them to waive some of their late fees, and they paid 4,500 that you approved them to pay. So that's $4,500 late fee payment from that distributor that had to do 2 years. So they did pay, and they did get a new license, which is super. So they did what we asked. The next report is the detailed monthly service bureau report breakdown. And this just is literally a micro level view of everything, all expenditures, all revenue. This revenue report is also going to show you that 1.5% DFMA special revenue fee that's deducted every time for every month at the end of the month. So that number in parentheses, that 1.5% is taken off. So that bottom line total number is the actual total that we take into a fund. And then that expenditure just below that is going to show you the total expenses with everything at the bottom there for each month. And obviously, you still have 2.5 months to go. And then the bottom is going to show all the indirect transfers. That's the interagency stuff, the MOUs that we have with ADLL, all of those things that pay to ADLL, who pays all of them. So that's all your expenditures. And then the very bottom is going to show you our ending balance that's in our fund. So start of the year down to the far right there is where we're at currently. We have a healthy balance, no issues there. And then the next page is going to show you our appropriation, the remaining appropriation, which this is important to keep in mind for later, because I actually included the proposed fiscal year 27 appropriation, which is part of House Bill 1006, which is in the fiscal session right now. You know, shoot there, I'll get into that later. This is how this is appropriated, and you'll see we still have plenty of appropriation left for the remaining 2.5 months. Go over to, and this is actually easier to see in the, I believe it's the expenditure summary report later in the package. Yeah, that's easier to see there. We also have all of your stipends, mileage reimbursements, all of the bills, salaries that are paid here broken down. Again, we haven't had any major expenditures since we paid for Alexis's laptop. That was the last major expenditure we had, which was back, I believe, last fall. That when that was, Alexis? October, I want to say, December. Yeah, we'll see it on December there. To see complete computing, you go over to the December column, we'll see that $3,600 number. That's the new laptop service that Alexis had to get, because her laptop was about to fry. So that for a long time. But again, if you go to the summary report, revenue summary, expenditure summary at the very end, you'll see kind of where we stand, and this revenue summary report shows you the revenue balance after all fees have been taken out. So that's the actual total balance. And that kind of shows you where everything stands at this point through the middle of April. And then that next page is it's going to show you the appropriation allotment in yellow that we have from the legislature. And then down at the very end over here, it shows you our remaining appropriation in that column, what we have left. So as you can see, we've got 2.5 months left, and we have more than enough to cover everything. We're not going to have to go over and ask for any additional appropriation. We don't know. I'll always try to plan for that. And you'll see that in the budget for this kind of fiscal year too. So that's where everything stands on the revenue expenditure funds. We're in good shape.
We're in good shape. Thank you, staff, for doing what you do on that.
Oh, and we do have more than enough for the grant funds.
Okay, I figured. Well, I entertain a motion to approve the annual revenue expenditure report.
Michael Johnson, motion to approve. White second.
Moved and seconded to approve the revenue expenditure for the year 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, motion, let's see, monthly license activity reports.
Yes, ma'am. And Alexis, as always, does a great job with this. She gives you that first sheet, which is kind of a detailed breakdown of all license submissions you'll see up at the top there, starting June 30th, 25 up until April 10th of this year. So this is the entire fiscal year breakdowns of all license submissions in the licensing system by license type. And she does put a note down here at the bottom, which I think is important to remember, that numbers listed only represent initial submissions. And we have this all the time, especially with dealers where they do the initial submission, that's where they pay, but they're missing documents. So we are having to go to reject it, send it back to them and send them some notes and an email and say, hey, we still need this. But when they resubmit that, that doesn't show up. So there's not any resubmission here. So there are.
So their numbers are in there.
Yes, but these are all initial submissions. Right. So that's the total there and the application fees. And she's even showing the denied applications up there, which is very minimal whether you're using a specific reason for that. And once we get into the next phases here, Ms. Joy, we've started just including our newly designed applicant worksheet that Alexis has come up with. We feel like this is just the easier way for everybody to kind of get a detailed breakdown of all the information for the licensee, even if it's a manufacturer or distributor, because generally we don't do, as you see, the memos that we send out to you on those people that don't get franchise tags. But this way we can show everybody and get a breakdown of what the products are, who these people are, where they're from, what the license type is. And as you'll see with Tractor Supplies, we also have a space to account for the new Act 233 requirements, which require a service provider. We have space for that on those worksheets too, to show that we're checking for that. So the first one here, this is Bill White Ford in Mansfield. This was the one in the February meeting that you guys approved for us to license the new Mansfield location. So they have a new license in Mansfield, moving to Boonville. And that's the one that Mr. White's, they're remodeling the whole store, but they have a temporary modular setup there in all the facilities. The next one is a new manufacturer. Alexis, how do we pronounce this again? RAR. Out of California, I believe this is motorcycles, right? They do dirt bikes and motorcycles. We have a dealer that's already signed up with them, Baxter's Motorcycle in Denton. Main Street Outlet. This is a company actually in Cave City, Sharp County. They're dealing with supermarket products. John had to go do the dealer visit there. Both of the owners, they were very nice. We got them set up pretty quick. We found out about them from an individual in Batesville. So John looked into that. We talked to them and they got a license and they're doing business under the proper license now, no issues. So they have a new cycle license. Yes, sir.
Daniel, on the first one here, Quadland LLC, it's this county Waller. Where's Waller County?
Oh, you're looking at Quadland. So that's actually Alexis being very industrious and looking up the county and the state they're from. It's not It's not.
In Arkansas.
It's not Arkansas. I'm sorry. So she's going above and beyond and getting county and there's that Texas. So yeah, it's Waller County.
There's a couple of others out there.
There's a few other ones like that. Sorry. Yeah. Just remember, most of the manufacturers and distributors we license are out of state. So you're good. That's a good question. So next one, Whisper Carts. So this is another example, Jimmy. This is Johnson City, Tennessee, Whisper Carts, Washington County, Tennessee. I believe American Landmaster owns Whisper Carts. So that's who submitted this or part of that. And we have a few dealership side for them, but they're selling specifically LSVs under this Whisper Carts manufacturer license. The next one is Start Future USA, which I mentioned earlier. Backley's also wanted to sell them. They did apply for the proper distributor license as you guys requested them to do. And as I said earlier, they did pay all of their $4,500 in late fees that you basically requested to pay. And actually waived, I think they waived about half of it down to $4,500 for what they would have owed. So, we gave them a little bit of a break there. They did pay what they owed and they paid the license fee. So they're fully up to date. Mr. Bowman got that taken care of, so they're now a licensed distributor in Arkansas. And that's, yeah, Harrison County, Texas. So that's another Texas distributor. The next one is 479 Equipment Company. This is Washington County, Arkansas, Fayetteville. Another new LSV dealer, Mr. Holman. And I believe they're just selling Icon right now, Alexis. They haven't added anything else, right? Icon LSVs. So that's what they're selling right now. I'm sure they'll have more eventually. They're licensed as a new dealer. BC Companies, which is going by the DBA Conquest Cars. This is an Alabama-based manufacturer. They also manufacture LSVs, and they're going to be signing up golf carts in Northwest Arkansas. Last time we checked there. So another LSV manufacturer we licensed. And this is when we get into Tractor Supply. So this is the Tractor Supply Company 768. This is the one in Benton in Saline County. Franchise cycle dealer, and you'll see here there's a little box down here that Alexis created to account for their service, offsite service and repair centers to qualify under Act 233. So they actually had, was it 4 different ones, Alexis, I think, on this one? We looked, Dustin Durr, Troublemaker. Yeah, so they 4 different ones for their different, well, 5 different ones for their different products with Champion, High Sun, and Sunrise. Yeah, we're selling those 3. This one was an interesting one. If you look at the bottom here, Alexis added some notes for you. So this one was one of those where we had to work out a relevant market area potential dispute. Hoco Turf Equipment Company in West Little Rock is already an existing dealer. And obviously this dealership, I think, was what, 16.6 miles from Tractor Supply store. Then so we actually talked to Hoco Turf, and Hoco Turf sent us an email and said that they weren't going to protest and they didn't have an issue with it. So we didn't have to initiate any protest proceedings, which is what you guys have seen before with some other dealers. So
Look on the back of that sheet, you'll see the service centers for clearly.
yes,
It's gonna be like that for all the Tractor Supply.
yeah, because it's just too small for us to put that. So we should Alexis.
They'll be doing.
These are the people that Tractor Supply has authorized and has confirmed that
Okay.
they will be doing all the service work for Tractor Supply products at these locations for these products. So, and again, we don't have the rule in place yet, working on it, that are required to submit the agreements. We'll have that. So for now, they are confirming to us that these are their authorized services. They're all within. So do we have any way of knowing that these people actually agree to do that? Without the agreement, it's difficult, but they,
I will say,
Yeah.
reference to Tractor Supply specifically, this information is coming directly from the manufacturer district. I've confirmed with them to make sure that.
at least with them, we
That's
know.
what I wondered if we follow up.
Yeah, at least with them, we do know there's some coordination
Yeah.
between the distributors, manufacturers, and Tractor Supply. That is confirmed.
And it was confirmed because of an issue we had with a few other applications they did where we were having.
Yeah. That we had to send back.
communication Information.
So we've had to work with them on this, and I think they've gotten better with it. But obviously, the rule will be important because then, that to say we need to see where these people sign, where they sign that they're actually doing this. Because otherwise, because most of these people, the only one of those people that they've submitted that we license is Central Arkansas. Right. So all the other ones, we don't license. And they're not required to be licensed
That's what I'm saying.
under the act, but just have to navigate that as we move along. So the rule will help. Thank you. The next one is Quadland, which Jimmy mentioned earlier. They go by B-Carts and they're based out of Berkshire, Texas, in Walnut County. Again, this is one that one of our dealers was in contact with, Captain Kristen Pups down there in Hot Springs. He's selling these LSVs now, but this is another LSV manufacturer, Texas. TNB Automotive, this is a new franchise automobile dealer in West Memphis. Andrews, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. These people were very helpful working with Alexis to get this done. They purchased this dealership from Mr. Darrell Saul, Prestaci brand in West Memphis, and everything went through, no issues. But again, this is just a new Stellantis dealership. Their license numbers at 5586 West Memphis. They're all the market area stuff stay the same. They have a new license. You can see the ownership breakdown there. I believe they have some stores in other states. Alexis, right?
Yeah.
They have some other stores in other states. All right, and these next couple are also new Tractor Supply stores. We're getting a lot of, we actually have, as of this morning, we've had 3 new Tractor Supply applications in the system. I noticed for Russellville, Blytheville, and Searcy stores. So Tractor Supply is slowly, as we told you, getting all their locations licensed. So they're working. This one is for the Ash Flat location, which is up in Scott's neck of the woods up there, up north of Batesville, Ash Flat, Sharp County. And I believe this one is Alexis, they're just selling Champion and Sunrise.
There's another.
Right. And again, on the back, she is even attached Tractor Supply's letter where they attest to the service centers. These service centers are in Park Care Place there, the party service all their products. So then the next one is another Tractor Supply. This one is actually in Little Rock over there. They're doing High Sun Sunrise Champion. Again, the service centers are on the back. A lot of these are the same ones that the Benton store is going to be utilizing, you'll see. And also, same issue with Hoko Tarkir, but Hoko has already said that they are protesting any Tractor Supply stores in the area. I believe what they even told us was, I think they sell a different, they might even sell a different line of products. Tractor Supply is actually going to be on. Works a little differently, so it's not even really an issue for them, but they still confirm it. And then the next one, Wix RV in Jonesboro, Mashburn Bridge. Mr. Wix just purchased, I believe the purchase of what used to be Mashburn RV in Jonesboro. Margie went up there and did a visit. What was that, last week, Margie?
Yes.
You did that? The 8th? Yeah. This is just Jayco right now, right, Michael? That's correct, just Jayco. And you'll see the market area from Jayco down there at the very bottom in those section. So new RV dealer license for Michael there in Jonesboro. And just look right out to Northeast Arkansas, follow the stomping grounds. The next one, Parish Equipment Company in Monticello. They purchased, I believe, a Spartan Intimidator of Monticello. And right now, Mr. Parrish is just selling Segway products. This one is an interesting one. We're still working on it a little bit. We went ahead and issued the license. Everything was fine. We talked to Mr. Parrish. We talked to Segway about it, right, Alexis? But in this instance, Segway messed up on the market area for Mr. Parrish. We noticed it in the dealer agreement. They actually said or tried to set his market area at 10 miles, which is not allowed under the franchise cycle requirements in our law. It's 30-mile minimum. They can do it more than that, but it has to be 30 miles. So that's what we're doing now. So they can't go below that. That's what our law says. So they're working on getting that corrected for him. But as far as the commission's concerned, his market area is 30 miles. So, and we'll, yes, sir.
That's pro flight miles, isn't it?
Straight line. Yeah, straight line Georgia. Yes, sir. The next one for Osmond's LLC, this is Osmond Harley Davidson of Jonesboro. I believe Margie did this visit at the same time she was in Jonesboro to visit at Michael's store. So Harley Davidson of Jonesboro have been there for a while. These folks are a construction company in Jonesboro. They bought this Harley Davidson franchise store, and now they're going to be the new Harley dealer. And I believe everything is pretty much staying the same. I believe Kara Roach, the GM, is even staying on as the GM. So not much is changing there other than ownership, but in that case, since the ownership does change, we do have an issue with the license for the new business. So new franchise cycle license there. So that's all of the new licenses since the February meeting. Quite a good number of new licenses since then. It's all been
you know,
all over.
but Tractor Supply won't.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have more of those.
I know.
We still got, I don't know, 30 more to go, of course.
I wondered in their offices, do they have like a flat saying, this is where you can get it served? I mean, how does that happen? That would be what I would do.
The way that I see it right now is they're slowly working through getting them licensed as they're able to figure out who the service providers are gonna be.
Okay,
And getting all the dealer agreements figured out for each location, because they're not always the same.
right.
So I think that's their big hurdle, is them figuring out how that works, because obviously they're
I'm
new
saying
to.
somewhere it
yeah.
needs to be. listed.
that would be
This
nice,
is
but-
where you get these,
Yeah,
not the, that's what I do.
well, they're gonna be required under the rule to.
Right,
disclose
I'm
all
just
that
saying they have to know
information.
that, so.
So
Just a thought,
that is something we can check on. Once we have
Right.
that full, we can actually check.
okay,
So, the next things you see here are some of the off-premise sale requests and, that we've authorized here since the last meeting. This is for States Fair and Rodeo. This happens every year. They get approval for this every year. And we'll see that temporary sales permit there. They generally only are able to invite the dealers in Miller County, it's Lafayette County, what are the counties down there?
Just the surrounding, yeah, the,
What's that?
Lafayette, North County,
Miller County, Little River,
Little River,
yeah,
maybe city.
is that, yeah.
yeah, beer might be something.
There's not a lot of dealers in that area. And every year, we also have in our law, the ability for an out-of-state dealer to pay John Martin. John Martin. Every,
List thing, we only have locations in Miller, one in Little River, and then
Right.
in Fayette.
the next thing you see there is actually an out-of-state temporary permit. So this is what's in our law that allows an out-of-state dealer to participate in one of these off-premise sale, off-premise shows. But as you'll see on this information, they have to pay the $100 fee. They can only participate for 7. So this is Gregor, Classic Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Texarkana, Texas, right across the state line. They participate in this every year. But as you see there, they do pay their $100 fee to the commission, and they have to temporary permit. It's only good for 7 days. So we have this in the ELP system to allow us to easily track all these. We usually only have 1 or 2, 3 of them a year. That is a license we can issue in the system now for an out-of-state permit to track that. So that doesn't suffice. The next one here is Mr. Tollett. He runs the 4-stage shootout, which is a little further down the road, same Texarkana, Miller County. And this is also a rodeo event, right? Like bull riding rodeo event. And it's going to be the same list of dealers, but he already submitted his information, so we went ahead and authorized that. I believe he's going to bring us some additional stuff. Tickets.
Did you go to that bull riding? I've gone.
I've been plenty of them.
Yeah,
It wasn't in Texarkana, it's kind of a long drive.
yeah.
And the next one is all of our list of where we're at on renewals. And with this, I'm gonna let Alexis and then maybe Margie talk about a little bit of who she's contacted there, because she's gonna help to contact these folks. We have whittled this list down, as you will see, considerably since last time. Alexis, you want to explain your color graph again for everybody so that they're not having to try to decipher?
So we have, they're white with black writing, they're active, and they did it before they were given any late fees. And they have purple writing, but they're white, they are active, but they have late fees. If they are purple, they are expired with no submission as of the 10th. If they are blue, they've been rejected at least once. If they are yellow, they are surrendering. And if they're orange, they were in the queue when I ran this report on the 10th. I can tell you who's in the queue as of right now. With a renewal submission at Haynes Home Center, have Dino Equipment and Outdoors, another Haynes Hardware, Lawnmowers Plus, Glenwood Equipment Co.
Yep.
Daniel mentioned we had those 3 new applications for tractor supplies. We have a Hirsch Feed and Farm Mountain Home and Stribling Equipment. Those are currently in the queue.
And I see budget and Avis Rent-A-Car lessors on here. Alexis, I know they've been in contact with you. They just have to receive.
They just need to read.
Those 6 will be taken off pretty soon too, once they actually receive applications.
And there is one on here that we talked about, Daniel, that's in black
I saw that.
Which one?
with yellow writing.
Oh, White River, yeah. So I did want to mention that, and Aaron, this might be a question for you. So White River ATV, the commission obviously entered the order, letter of recommend, he complied with it. But we've already previously, we sent him a license for his inactive license. He still hasn't sent that back to us. So he technically still has an inactive license because we didn't actually let the license per se. Yeah. So how do you?
I think if he hasn't signed the surrender, so we can do is have a hearing on it. Okay.
So we just need to try to decide this one. That's kind of the way I.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can, but I just wanted to note that because we didn't actually revoke his license per se. We just said that we can do this. Basically. But that, yeah. So, okay.
Well, he hadn't signed that one we told.
And send it back to.
God, you might have seen.
I will tell you, the other thing that's been out front has been a go-kart,
Yeah.
which are not covered. So I haven't seen any scooters or ATVs or anything.
And we're keeping a close eye on it. So far, he's been complying. But there's some information we're running down.
Yeah, I haven't been inside the building. You just talk about what I see out on the street.
Yeah, we're trying to confirm a few things. So far, we don't have anything that would be able to really point to say it's not. It's all sales. But yeah, we've just got to keep working on it.
So you were in light today.
Yeah.
That's,
I saw that. I went, what?
I made it black so we wouldn't forget, but
Yeah.
you see the writing yellow, so it matches all the other surrenders.
Alright.
I do have a question, and this comes from a previous meeting. I noticed Gentry Chevrolet shows expired, and I know we were not able to renew them because their facility was not,
Right.
active. If, this is just not necessarily using him specifically, but as an example, if he rebuilds and or moves to a facility that is functional and will work, will he have to reapply for a license?
Yes.
And if everything is kosher, then he would get a new license.
You guys can approve the license. So all that's happened with him at this point, what you guys did was you denied his application.
Yeah, because he didn't have.
Because he didn't meet the requirements at the time, at this time. But there's nothing stopping him from reapplying. Okay. If he's able to get a facility, then yes, we do approve.
And that would be the case in any situation.
Because again, as we mentioned with the troll bill, you haven't revoked his license. Revoking and denying. Two different things. Revoking means you're done. Like we can't reapply. Like if you wanted to apply for a new license, you'd have to come back and explain to the commission why we should entertain your application, basically.
If he, in this case, if this person rebuilds or moves to an acceptable facility, John or Margie would go and inspect it, and business could be carried on as with a new license.
100%. That's all you gotta do. So I hope that happens. All right, the last few reports here. I know Alexis is going to be adding more to our voluntary surrender agreement list. from the last week that is not on this one, since we've had a lot of dealers that have told Margie that they're surrendering, a lot of cycle dealers, right, Margie?
Yes.
No, you've talked to what, at least 4, 5, 6 this week that said they're gonna surrender.
There's renters.
Yeah.
Requested.
It, yeah, so we've got to send those out. So there'll be more to add to that list, and we'll get those in as soon as we can. The last report here is what we call our constituent invoices report. So this is showing you all of the late fees that have been issued to dealers, manufacturers, distributors, reps for this fiscal year. The bottom line numbers are going to show you the total invoice amount, the total amount that's still due, and the total amount paid so far. So we've still got $4,200 at this point to collect from dealers, manufacturers, distributors. The most noticeable one on here I see, Margie, is Candy America, which I know you've talked to them before, and Alexis has too. So we're just going to have to, I guess, get more aggressive with them to get them to pay that. They do have an active license. And then Club Car, for some reason, Alexis still hasn't paid their $900. I don't know what's going on with that. I need to get a hold of their corporate office, figure out what the deal is there. Both of those are still licensed distributor and licensed manufacturer, so they're still active licensed. And then the rest of them, Kenworth, PACCAR also has a 450 hanging out there. We'll get all those taken care of. The rest of these you see, however, are dealer late fees, those $1,500 ones. That's either 1 month or 2 months late. $1,500, and we'll have some that will be added on here, Alexis, for 3 months as well. $150. So there will be more added on to this, which you'll see in the next month's meeting. So we've still got at this point $4,200 in late fees to collect on top of the license fees. Cool. That's all the license.
All right. Thank you. The report, nice, easy for us to note this, and I'll say in years past, we've never had it done right, and that helps us.
We try to
Stand there.
get the
Very
Detail
detailed,
breakdown.
and, because we didn't have a clue. You know what they're doing. But we didn't, so it's awesome. Really is. Okay, investigation summary.
All right, I'm just going to turn it over to Marty and John to briefly give you guys an update on what they've been working on in general. They've got some complaint investigation issues. They'll be in more detail later. They're on the action discussion items. Y'all don't need to talk about them. We can talk about them. So just give a general breakdown of the commission on the last couple months.
Doesn't matter either one. I'll let y'all fight it out here.
I think, the complaints that I've had mainly are like title issues still. And also we've been doing some advertising issues as well. And then I've done some, Rule 3 publication handouts. I've sent them to the different various people that have requested due to the advertising. So, and that's pretty much about it. Mr. Corbin.
All right, well, I've got kind of a hodgepodge of different things. I've got a few title issues, I've got some mechanical issues on some used cars, a couple of dealer manufacturer issues that are kind of in a holding pattern right at the moment. Made several visits. I've been to Fort Smith, I've been to Fayetteville. Margie went to Jonesboro. Other than that, most of my stuff is just, like I said, just a hodgepodge of different things. A few advertising complaints that Margie and I have worked on together and looked at that are just kind of.
I will notate it for John and Margie's sake that they've been spending a lot of time lately working on Superior RV investigation stuff. And you'll notice if you look at the formal complaint report, this is important for what we're about to talk about in legal updates anyways. We had right now in formal complaint report for 2026, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, more complaints in 2026 against Superior RV sales. 5 different. So 5. I'll just bring that to your attention to notate that for a little later. But other than that, we're up to 14 formal complaints on here already. And on the non-formal list, we're up to, I think, almost 50, John. Was it 46?
47, I think.
47 as of today. So we're almost at 50 non-formal complaints. And you'll
So is
see.
this more than we've had in years?
I think we're
about the same.
I think we're about right on track for last year, you know, in the ballpark so far. Yeah. So pretty average to go to last year's. Okay. You'll see on the ad hoc list there, AMBC versus Superior RV Sales and Service, that has been referred to the ad hoc committee, and the ad hoc committee is referring to the commission today. We'll go over that in a minute. And that Mr. Moser complaint is going to be dismissed. I've got to finish the draft letter and send that out. So those are the okay.
Right, thank you.
It's the complaint. Let's see what.
Thank you all. Thanks for your hard work and traveling off this all. A lot. Legal counsel report. Adrian?
Start with part A on the agenda there, Arkansas Yamaha, which is Yamaha Motor Corporation. This has been on the agenda for a few months now, so you may be aware that the issue here is there's an existing Yamaha dealership that is protesting the proposed location of a new Yamaha dealership within its relevant market area. They had 180 days, the commission by statute had 180 days to set this for a hearing, which I believe was in February. We ran out of the 180 days. Prior to that, both parties submitted a request for continuance waiving the 180 day requirement. And so this has been added to next month's meeting for a hearing. Both sides have been in contact with the commission and staff, and believe that they can settle this without a hearing. But as of right now, we haven't heard anything from either side in this, so we're going to keep it on the calendar.
Yeah, we're keeping on the calendar, and I appreciate the commission for setting that for May 20th, kind of keep them on track. But yes, that has been the indication from both sides to me is that they are working on settling this. I would anticipate we'll receive hopefully a confirmation. Yes. Then this. We'll see.
Next is Superior RV Sales and Service. This is coming before the ad hoc committee. You all are probably fairly familiar with this. It's been in the news for several months now. The owner has been served with several civil lawsuits. An arrest warrant was issued. He was charged criminally. It's very similar circumstances to all the civil suits and the criminal suit. Basically, he is taking trades and not paying them off once he gets the money for them. He's keeping the money. So this has been investigated by the Attorney General, by the prosecuting attorney there in Faulkner, and they have charged him. And so right now, I believe his license has expired. And so the ad hoc committee is going to suggest that the commission set this for a hearing so they can deal with his expired license.
And I'll just say we have a substantial amount of evidence and documents to present at the hearing. We're not presenting anything today because we don't want to prejudice commissioners. So that's why there's no documents. Joy and I are hearing everything. We think it wants a hearing. So the only thing I would say on that hearing is I know we won't have it probably as soon as we can, but we do have that hearing set next month. I don't think it will happen, but it might. I don't know. Have 2 hearings, same.
Kind of hanging out there, not knowing what done.
Yeah.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know.
We probably June, maybe. Mr. Setting.
This is just for my own edification. Superior RV, does it have any relationship to the two Superior dealerships that are with the auto dealerships with the,
Not at all.
say that?
The same, similar thing. Yeah. But no, they're not related.
I need to entertain a motion to, set a hearing for Superior RV Sales and Service.
Move that we set the hearing for Superior RV sales and service for our June meeting, June 17th, I believe. Scott, you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we set a hearing or a motor vehicle checking versus Superior RV Sales and Service for June 17th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. That will help. That will help Aaron and I get this out. They'll have one of the time so that he gets notice. On once again. Or no, he's still at that location. So. Mark can make a trip up there and serve two in person. He's still doing business at the location. Right? Depends on what you classify as doing business. Yes. Yeah, they're up there.
Maybe on.
Yeah, lights are still on anyways.
Forward to C.
Part C, which is, Commission versus Bell Chevrolet River and Ford and Superior Ford. This involves an off-premise display. It's held at the Arkansas Association Chief of Police Conference, Hot Springs last September. Commission had authorized the ad hoc committee to send out consent agreements with the three dealers involved in the displays, which was done earlier this year. We haven't received a response from two of the dealers. The consent agreement, the third has requested time to draft a response to the consent agreement. And that was Superior Ford.
Yeah, they have Ford. That's
right. So their response is going to be April 2nd.
It's right here.
Where is this?
Oh, when you go past this label council, it's right there.
Yeah, there's just the one.
Yeah, that one piece of
They're
paper.
just showing where we are.
Yes, right there. Where he's.
Very last page.
Keep going. Right there.
It's just my email chain. I guess it's here.
Okay. Can I ask a question about this one?
Sure.
It shows in October that I was at this meeting, that I was in attendance. And it is 100% my fault if I wasn't involved with the discussion about this. I take full responsibility about that. I don't know if maybe I was on Zoom and I had to, I don't know. I can't explain why I don't have, participation, at least in the discussion about this. I do now have a little bit of insight that I don't know if it was presented when we discussed it, for a fine, I guess. This is, only displaying vehicles that are upfitted with, police or first responder equipment. They don't send salespeople. It's only the equipment that are on display. They use vehicles from, I believe it's Superior, Vail, and so Red River. They are invited to the event. They pay a sponsorship fee to I guess is it called police chief? Is that what
Yes, Association of Chiefs.
Yeah, as a dealer, and I know, Mr. Wood, I think you dismissed yourself in discussion on this.
I can't understand why another dealer would have a problem with this to begin with. Secondly, they're not trying to sell the vehicles. They're only on display for the chief of police to look at the actual crop. Yes, sir.
Are these three dealers that have the state bid?
Yes.
Okay, so other dealers, the way I understand it, that don't have the state bid wouldn't be invited. They're only invited because they were the ones who
Correct.
had the state bid.
They have the equipment. Okay. And I guess moving back, if, again, I apologize. I don't know how I missed this, but as a dealer, representing the dealers, I don't feel like it is, that I could, represent the dealer body. I don't think I could stand for penalizing these guys. And I don't know what we can do now in retrospect, but, bring it up for discussion or what an actual solution can be now.
So I think the options right now for the dealers, because the consent agreement has already gone out. So their options would be to either reject the consent agreement and ask for a hearing, or they can accept the consent agreement. If they rejected it, it could come back before the commission to issue a second consent agreement. But at this point, that's what they would have to do, is either ask for a hearing and reject it, or accept it. Something has to be done with that consent agreement.
And the consent agreement is $1,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what the commission offered us, was just $1,000, consistent with what we find somebody to do. Same thing. Display. I think the issue here was display, not necessarily setting. Right. That's kind of the problem.
Right. Right. Rule 7 doesn't allow display of vehicles off premise, whether or not a sale is involved.
And, but to Mr. Wood's point, as dealers, we all have, the option to submit for state bid, and these are the 3 dealers that do, so they actually are the ones that have the product. It's a little bit of a, to me, it's a different topic. When I'm talking about, it's almost like there should be a separate dealer agreement for that territory. Mr. Wood, I don't know if that.
Yeah, since they're the ones with the state bid, they're the only ones that are in effect authorized by the state to have these types of vehicles for display purposes. No other dealer would be able to procure that type of vehicle for some sort of a display like this.
Okay. Could this have been avoided had they applied for an off-site premise display? I mean, it certainly would have come before you guys to consider it. I don't know. I mean, Aaron and I enjoyed looked at the rule. The issue is, I don't know. I understand what Scott and Clay are saying, and I disagree with what they're saying about the state bid contract. But the issue is, I don't know if as the rule is currently written, it even allows for that, for us to even approve the display of this.
Was this deal, refresh my memory, was this deal in Knox Spring?
Yeah. That's what at the convention center.
So none of these 3 dealers have a presence in Garland County.
No. And it was the Garland County started. That's how we do it. Just for the in Garland County. So that's why we have a range. Otherwise, we decided on this in 25.
Yeah, October.
October. Yeah. Okay. It was the same meeting as you. They reached out and contacted you, or?
Yes, sir, they did.
Well, back to what Mr. Lowry said. If they reject the consent agreement, it's going to land back here. And at that point, could we not reconsider and issue another consent agreement that says, although we don't agree with the fact that it occurred, you can remove the buy-in in our second consent agreement and just
You could, so if they reject the consent agreement, then it would come back before the commission to ask for what the next step would be, whether that's revised consent agreement or set it for here.
So a revised consent agreement could state, so that we state in the letter of the law, it could state that although this displacement is not legal, it was not permanent, not approved. We're no longer, we can remove fine, basically, which I don't think the area of contention.
Do,
And then when it's like, and then when it comes up again, then we would have to figure out what we're gonna do at that point.
That's right. So the commission would have a lot of options as far as what the sanction could be. It could be nothing. It could be a letter of caution. Some of the boards call it that. It could go all the way up to a fine, or revocation or suspension.
And I'm assuming there was a consent agreement sent to all three dealers.
So they got the same letter, same,
So has any one of them provided?
they have not responded.
One has responded, right?
Not, well, they've sent an email, right, that are working on it, that we gave them until next week, Superior, but the other two have not responded to them anyway.
So this problem's gonna come up again next year. Because it's
Yeah, I was
the,
gonna say, we're getting a precedent. We don't.
well, the organization
We have
charges quite a hefty sponsorship, and it's a lot of their revenue for that event. So I feel like if it comes up the second time, we probably need to come up with a solution for moving forward. There needs to be some verbiage that, in my opinion, that allows for this.
That would be changing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rule change.
I understand what you're saying. But when that came up, individuals before this group, they were fined. I think I speak for the commissioners. We kind of followed that instead of giving this group a pass and the people before a fine and they paid it because.
I agree with the fine as it pertains to a normal, as it pertains to a normal vehicle. If I was displaying Chevrolets down in Batesville, just a normal Chevy Silverado, I would agree with the fine. But in this situation that they're displaying the products that are upfit on first responder and police vehicles, it's not even something that I sell. We don't offer the product. No, not it. I mean, there's only 3 dealers in the state that do offer the product, and they all jointly come together to do this event.
So does that contract come up every year for bidding?
The state bid comes up every year, and it's not necessarily always these 3 dealers that get the state bid.
Right.
There are other dealers in the state that bid on it. Sometimes they'll get that state bid, and if they do, then they would be authorized. But, so if this happens next year, if there's another police chief's convention, then, whoever gets the bid for next year would be, I'm sure would be asked to bring a quote unquote police car or an ambulance or whatever it is to show them. And it's a weird situation just because of the fact that these 3 dealers in this particular case are the only ones authorized by the state to do this.
But to Joy's point, we've got to be careful about how we handle it.
Yeah.
Precedents here.
Yeah, I agree.
This could happen in the RV industry also.
Yeah.
An outfitter could bring a Class B motorhome in, stuff fitted with a whole bunch of outlaw-like stuff.
Like a SWAT team.
Yeah. Is it possible that we create a new permit, a different type permit for them to have to present to us?
Yeah, maybe it's possible. It would just have to be a new.
Fabricate Rule 8.
Well,
It would be an amendment to rules.
It would.
Well, okay,
That would have to be an amendment because
but we could make some sort of special consideration.
you could, what I would say is if you wanted to amend it, you should just add a section. So, specifically targets this. That's what,
And are there
Just
other,
display some specialty up there.
Clay, are there
the only
other
reason I say that is
associations that ask dealers? No, I don't bid on, I don't do the state thing, so I don't really know, but I'm thinking like the Sheriff's Association or the police chiefs, the Sheriff's State police, I don't know. Fire truck, yeah, fire trucks. I don't know if there are any other associations that do this kind of thing.
I mean, in Clay, they're just displayed. It's right. It's not a.
They take their, from Superior's perspective, they take their service guy. They don't even have a sales manager or any kind of fleet manager or anything. It's a service, technician.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the ultimate solution is probably a rule amendment to add a section to the rule that will basically carve out something for these type of special items. I don't know what the language would look like, but that would probably be the easiest way to fix.
My memory on the discussion was that I went along with it, nothing about the state bid or the special circumstance was really mentioned. It was just these three dealers that rigs displayed in Garland County.
Yeah.
And that's not right. But what Clay's bringing up is relevant to this situation.
Yeah.
But from the letter of the law, it's still.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I think from Aaron and our standpoint and from the commission standpoint is, yeah, they need to respond to the commission if they're on the consent agreements, and then we can bring them back to you. You can decide what you want to do, but they still need to respond.
And if they want to carry this further and contest it, they need to respond by rejecting the consent agreement.
Yeah, I mean, if they're wanting to take it that far, then they would have to reject it and say that, you know,
Well, they don't really have a choice here to pay or reject.
that's the first step. Yes, sir.
Has Gary Sipes been in contact with you guys?
I'll talk to Gary.
Okay, he's the head of the police chief.
He's the director.
I guess in a way, it's a blessing that it came up this way because it will allow for us to maybe make the amendment. Because it is a different circumstance. I think it's a good way for us to represent the dealer body accurately. So
If this group wants to do that again, could they not apply for an off-site?
it's out of market. It's out of their market. So the offsite is, it's in my, like I want to go display vehicles at ASU Mountain Home. Not at the Clay Nixon Chevrolet. I want to go over to the college and put something or at the fairgrounds. This is out of their market totally. It's in Riser's market.
Right. That's the issue, because it actually says in the rule, if you look at it, it says it twice, that outside a relevant market area, you can't do it, period.
So this would be a totally new permit that we would have to come up with.
Basically, in the rule, yeah, you can put that in. I don't know what they would call it, but that's what would have to happen to avoid this being an issue that comes up to us every single year.
Well, I don't have a contact at Vail or at Red River, but I have been talking to Gary and I have a contact at Superior. Superior did say that they sent in a response, but it would just give them until next week, right?
Yeah, all they've done is, I mean, they sent this in where they're, asking the commissioners to revisit this, and then they sent another email yesterday that I responded to, where they're basically asking, can we have a little more time to respond?
They were waiting on today.
Yeah. So I gave them till.
Okay, so I'll contact Superior and I could contact Gary, but you think that's enough?
I think it's gonna take our director to do that, like really do.
I can contact them. We'll get them to respond. Maybe respond. So. As soon as we have responses, bring them in. You guys decide.
Everybody, we don't need to make
So we have something to,
Right.
present.
Thank you.
Thanks, well, I appreciate it.
All right. We're on to the number 6.
On to the, yes, ma'am.
All right.
Sure, we'll track.
Presenting rules.
Aaron and I and Margie and John.
All right,
Um,
y'all are on.
so I'm just gonna give a little background on this situation, because I think it's important context to understand for commissioners, you know, decide what y'all want to do on this. We've had a long-standing issue with Mr. Sherwood Tractor on his advertising of CF Moto products specifically. And for context, he has a store in Rosebud where he is licensed to sell CF Moto. We license him at the Atkins. Sometimes he calls it the Atkins store, sometimes he calls it the Blackwell store. I'm not really sure. Is it Blackwell? Yeah, it's a,
Having to look at it.
yeah, there's a report here in the
Okay, that's
action
what I wanted to
discussion
know.
items, and
Okay,
then there's
sorry.
also a few of his ads.
All right, I see it.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
we didn't put everything in here because we weren't sure if this might go to.
right, okay, it is in there, I didn't get it, sorry.
So, and he has the Atkins store. We also license him at the Atkins store, but at the Atkins store, we have never licensed him to sell CF Moto products. He cannot sell them from that store. There's another CF Moto dealer in the area. It's Mr. Johnson, Mike Johnson Power Sports. He's been the CF Moto dealer for a long time. And that's why I talked to Mike earlier. He's going to recuse himself from any vote on this because obviously this indirectly involved him. So, but in the past, and we've always done this on a non-formal basis with Mr. Sherwood. I've had Margie and John in the past contact him and talk to him about advertising. We have even had issues where we have caught him in the past. Again, this is not formally, it's nothing we've ever had to bring to the commission, but we have caught him in the past with CF Moto products at the Atkins, selling them at the Atkins store. We've had to ask him to take them back. So he's very much aware of what the rule says about advertising and also selling units out of the Atkins location. Not licensed at that location. He's never been licensed at that location to sell CF Moto products. That's not his market area for this. So, and with that, I'll turn it over to, I think, Margie and John first, and then Aaron can kind of go over what he wants to do with this. But Margie, John, do y'all want to kind of give a breakdown of your most recent, not everything, but the most recent interactions with Mr. Sherwood on his advertising specifically, and, you know, all, and I'm talking about, this is all of his advertising, not just his digital advertising, but also the advertising he does on TV, on streaming, everything, and mainly what the main issue is that he's doing, that you tried to address with him, non-full, before we've got to this point.
John and I contacted him in July of 2025, requesting that on these advertisements, CF Motos, on all his platforms, like he said, on any media platforms, we requested that he put a disclaimer that states Atkins, the CF Moto he advertises, is not available at the Atkins store. And he agreed to do this and asked that we give him a little time to take care of it, which we did. But he ended up going in and changing, as you can see on the, when you flip it over, where's the Sherwood Tractor?
That's one of his, is that one of his Facebook ads?
Yes. And it shows on here that Rosebud, and he is actually advertised CF Moto. And he says Atkins not available this location. That's what we requested him to do. And then it came up to where he went back and on all of his platforms and the media, such as, like he said, YouTube,
All the news channels,
yeah, all the news channels, Fox 16,
commercials.
you're right. He removed the section says not available at this location at Atkins regarding the CF Motos. And we took photographs, you can see where all that has it's no longer there. And he is advertising as if the CF Moto is available at both locations, which is not.
And that's the main issue with him, is that he is continually in all of his advertising. Basically, everything is designed to where if I'm a customer and I'm looking at his advertising, you know, as the director, I know that he can't sell CF Moto at Atkins, but the regular customer has no idea. He's presenting everything as, I'm a CF Moto dealer at both locations. which is not true. That's the main issue. John?
And we've told him before that in a nutshell, it's false advertising. He cannot sell CF Moto products at the Atkins location. We've also cautioned him about his finance portion of his ads because he doesn't have the terms APR that are required under Rule 3 and under Federal Trade Commission rules. So we've also had to caution him about his, well, you can see here the revenue, right? It's got 1.99% for 36 months, but he has to show the APR, he has to show the terms, if there's any down payment involved. So we've talked to him about that, and we've made a trip to the Atkins store back then, I guess it was back in July.
Yes.
And to make sure that he wasn't selling CF Motor products there. So he agreed. I mean, we've talked to him, I guess, several times about this, and he just continues to do it. And so, kind of at a loss. Margie and I have been very nice to him. We've been over backwards to accommodate him, to work with him, to ask him to do what was right, and simply do it.
Does he have any stores at that location?
No, well, now Margie and I hadn't been there for a while, so as far as we know, he doesn't have it at the Atkins location.
We can't confirm that right now, but as I said, Margie and John have caught him with CF Motos at that location before, and we've had him move it.
Yeah.
So that has happened.
The background.
Well, you know, yeah.
But we have a lot more information than what's in front of you. We just didn't want to present everything. But Aaron, do you want to touch on what you looked at with this?
I would just go back to what Margie said. This has come up several times. He has made the change, as you can see in the first Facebook ad where he added not available at this location. And then at some point that drops off and it no longer says that. And so I think the second one that has the side by side there with people inside, you can see there's no notation that he can't sell these or provide these at the Blackwell location. And that's the problem. He changes it, complies when a visit is made, and then sometime later he changes it back. And that's been a sort of pattern.
What are our options?
I think at this point, it would be like anything else. We could send a consent agreement with a fine. I believe that's what the ad hoc committee recommended. I don't speak on that's what my note said. We could set it up for a hearing, have them come in, explain before the commission. Really a lot of options.
Yeah, I think those are the options before you for your consideration. What I would add is, having dealt with Mr. Sherwood for a while, if we want to do a consent agreement, you guys can decide what you want to do, but you don't put a fine in there.
Yeah, we're going.
He's not gonna change his behavior. So that's all I'll say about that.
There are recommended now.
It's a six-figure digit, so be good.
Including the decimals or not?
You can decide.
Well, yeah, what part of that is difficult?
Well, I'll say we just presented 3 dealers with a proposed $1,000 fine. We've done that previously with another off premise, and this is advertising, and this is advertising that's false and misleading, and that's just as serious, if not more serious than what you're dealing with. So take that as you will.
Well, over the years, we've had situations like that. I kind of like to see them in here. You know, bring them in here and see if we want to go along with it. If they don't go along with it, we can do what we need to do. I go along with what we said. Alex said. That's what we got.
That's always an option.
Yeah, I'm
Put a heavy enough fine on them, it'll work.
The question is, are you talking about a hearing?
We're just saying 2 things here.
Yeah,
Either a hearing or send a consent agreement with the fine. We have two other options, right?
I think we need to have a hearing and then.
No, that would be part of the hearing.
We would be part of the hearing.
That'd be part of the hearing, and then we would issue it. You guys would issue it.
Okay, are you saying that we do the consent? One of our options would be to go ahead and issue the fine and ask for a hearing.
Yeah.
Or if we issue the fine and he just pays it,
So,
then there is no hearing.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, so
Settled.
So you can't do both, really.
That's correct.
You either do the hearing or you.
The
do
option-
the fine.
yeah, the option with the consent agreement allows us to do is up to, I think it's $5,000. With the consent agreement under, or
Correct.
up to 5,000, we can propose a fine to the dealer and lay out what we feel is the violation, and then they can accept it or not. And if they don't accept it, they can come back and say, ask for a hearing, or you can set a hearing.
That's why I was thinking, if we issue a fine, they can go from there, one way or the other.
But if he just pays the fine
Yeah, then continues on.
and then continues on.
Then we can find him.
Yeah, we'll set a hearing.
Well, then we'd have another
Then
complaint, and it would come back.
Aaron can address some of that in the consent agreement in terms of, we still have jurisdiction over anything we can. So,
Can a consent agreement, rather than issuing a fine, can issue a, demand for his appearance before the board?
If you set a hearing, yeah.
Without setting a hearing.
You can ask him to come before the board. And you did that with,
Yeah, we did it with
Mr.
the gentleman that did.
Scotty, all that, that was about his license.
It was a little
Right.
different
a
situation.
little different, but you could ask him to come and you could ask him questions. What would be difficult is if he signed and agreed to it, and then the commission agreed to it, and then you tried to ask him questions and say, well, now, wait a minute, more is coming out. We're now rejecting the consent agreement. That could be a problem.
Especially if he brings an attorney.
Right. So it's not. Right. So if he signs the consent agreement, it's just like settling a lawsuit. There's no other issues for the commission to decide. He's agreeing to the fine and also to the allegations of fact.
So if we hold a hearing and it is determined that he is in fact doing this, then what are options do we have on the table? What we should do about it?
We could find him.
Well, at that point,
Yeah,
we
at
could
that point.
do something similar to what we did with Mr. Holyfield with the fine. You could have a letter of reprimand, whatever you want to call it, in order that says you will, follow these
Six rules.
3 or 4 or 5, what do we call it,
And basically, if he does.
ordinances or say, something.
He could risk losing his license.
Correct.
Right.
He could, it would be, if he came to a hearing or signed the consent agreement, and then the same issue came back up a second time before the commission, that would be something that the commission would consider to possibly increasing the sanction on him, because this is his second time on the same issue, and you've ignored what the commission has said, therefore you could bring it up.
But in disrespect of the investigators have got to weigh heavy on some situations, on decisions that we make.
That's a big part of it, Jimmy. I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, that's why we're bringing it to you, because we've tried to play nice with them for
A long time.
a while.
I'm not saying that it's.
So I'm kind of at my wit's end about what I can do.
From our point of view, we have all it is. He needs to issue a consent agreement, binding, and if he signs it, whether it can.
Yeah, I think the way to think about it is that would be, obviously 2 separate things. So if he does agree to it and he pays the fine, and then we catch him doing it again, well, then if we have a hearing at that point, that's going to be about a different issue altogether.
Yeah.
So that's not even about the advertising at that point. That's about him violating.
The bond with the order.
Yeah.
And our maximum fine is $5,000.
That's only under the, what is it, provision, or is it, I think it's in the area provision. I think it is. It's part of, we're allowed to do that as a commission, as part of our rules. That's the maximum amount we can do in a consent per se, like authorized by you. We want to go beyond that, we have to have a hearing. And then when we have a hearing, we get into per violation. Fines, which is where it really says that.
Yeah, every both violations right here.
And what would, you know, constitute a maximum fine would be is continued behavior and not complying with investigators. I mean, to me, I think the way you conduct yourself, you know, there's a penalty for that. So, especially since he's been warned.
I would support the issue of consent agreement. Obviously, man, it's not practice.
And we can put that in consideration, correct, Terry?
So, yes.
Yeah, like we can put, we'll address the practice and
And I think the language that is normally used, something like comply with all commission rules, including that's
I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I see the point here.
No, we think,
I think
probably we'll try, well, shouldn't speak.
usually,
Okay, I think it's the best way to do the consent agreement with the fine, right? And if he doesn't comply and doesn't do what we say, even if he doesn't sign it,
So then the only variable is the amount.
yes, I need a motion for that, but I would need an amount, so if you all wanted to discuss that. Isn't that correct? I would just say, that would be all right.
a motion for the.
I went in a motion, but we need to figure out how much we would find, from 1,000 to 5,000. Correct, correct.
We don't want to.
Up to,
Which motion you want?
no, I wanted all in one motion. I wanted all in one
That's gonna be
motion,
part of it.
but I just wanted you all to,
Has the commission ever issued about that stuff?
I don't think so.
No, I can't say that they've ever had. I'd have to go back and review all the whole.
Some people wanted to, but we never did it.
And that's been.
Miss Joy would know better than me. She's been.
Can we ask
I've been.
Can we ask a question to the investigator real quick?
Sure.
I mean, is it worthy of this is the most difficult guy you've dealt with on something like this?
Let me put it to y'all. Y'all know Margie and I, okay? You know, both of us are honest. Okay? When we deal with advertising complaints, whether it's with Mr. Sherwood or whomever, whatever dealer, Margie and I get those dealers on the phone. We treat them with dignity and respect. We go over Rule 3 with them. We tell them what the problem is and how it needs to be fixed. And we're always nice as can be. We're always professional and straight up with them. Y'all know me, I don't mince words usually when I talk to people, okay? We dealt with him now, he's never been ugly to us, he's never been disrespectful. He's never copped an attitude, you know, used foul language or anything. He's always just gone along and said, yes, I'll take care of it. It'll be taken care of. So that's how Margie and I approach Rule 3, period, all across the board. We call him, both of us on the phone, get the dealer and explain Rule 3, send them copies of Rule 3, multiple copies if we have to, and spell out the sections that they're in violation. And we've found that that works very well. We've had car dealers from all over the state that we've talked to. They've complied, they've taken care of it. We've had to talk to them multiple times to get to them on the right path. But they've taken care of it and it's been done.
Have we ever had a sort of tracker report that's made at this point?
From, consumer? Or just in general?
In general advertising.
Not recently. I don't know, Mr. Joy, did you have one?
I think I would be a pushing consent order and for $1,000 fine for first session of this. Obviously, with the language Mr. Lowry's had, a lot of the commission's rules, regulations going forward.
Been moved and seconded to, send Sherwood Tractor, for Sherwood, consent agreement with $1,000 fine. And all that will be worked out here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carried.
And, on that next meeting. We have, if he agrees to it and finds it, we'll have it back to you to approve. And hopefully, we don't have to do it. Hopefully,
Okay,
Somebody will do that, so.
oh, and Alexis notated that he might not participate.
Right.
He did,
It's
he abstained from the vote.
B,
Yes, ma'am.
our legal, but
This one's a little more interesting and I will be very glad to hear the commission's thoughts. I don't know where to start. And Aaron and I have talked about this. So essentially we have Dosh EV, which, where are they based, Margie? Florida. So they're supposedly an LSB manufacturer. And then we have Lone Star Golf Cars, which we have a licensed dealership, Lone Star Golf Cars, which is in the Mall Meadow area of North Little Rock. I don't know what I mean. There's an area up there that is technically North Little Rock, but it's off of Mall Meadow Boulevard. So they are a licensed dealer with us. We license them to sell other LSB products. The issue here is, and Lone Star Golf Cars, for point of reference, I think they're based out of Florida too. Correct. They have dealerships in like Texas, Florida, Georgia, New York, California. They got dealerships all over the place. Okay. Their corporate office is in Florida. That's who Margie's been in contact with. They have one store here, which is licensed. We've been dealing with this since last year as well. But essentially what we have here is, and Margie's confirmed this with a bunch of, we got a lot more photos and information than what we have here. But again, we didn't want to present too much because we like to save those things for a hearing if we have to have a hearing at some point. But essentially, Dosh EV, the important things to know, Dosh EV is not a licensed manufacturer in the state of Arkansas. Despite the fact that Alexis and Margie and John have reached out to them time and time again and explained to them that they need to get a license to sell their LSB products in the state for dealers. They're still not licensed up to this day. Lone Star Golf Cars is licensed, but they currently and have had Dosh EV products on display and selling and advertising at their dealership since what, Margie? At least September of last year?
Yes.
And I checked yesterday just for point of reference on their website. They still list 37 Dosh units on their website at the North Little Rock location. They're advertising. Margie's been by there several times and taking photos of them out there. And I'll turn it over to Margie and John to explain their interactions with these people. Margie, you take Lone Star first, and then John can address the Dosh, and Alexis, if she wants to chime in on Dosh too. But yeah.
I did go out to Lone Star. It started, I think that with Lone Star started September of 2025. It was reported by another LSB dealer that they were selling Dosh. And he actually wanted to sell Dosh, but he couldn't because he realized they weren't licensed.
Because he understands the law.
Correct. And then I called the GM there at the time, which was Jason Allen. And he stated that they do indeed sell Dosh. And then, and I had explained to him that we need the dealer agreement, but they do understand they're not a licensed manufacturer distributor. And he said that he's going to get a hold of their general manager or one of the owners that's in Florida, which his name was Austin Halpin. And I did talk with Austin numerous times over this period, I guess through February or March of this year. And Austin assured me that he would get a hold of Dosh and get them licensed to where they can sell the product. But I did explain to Austin, you still cannot display Dosh units because they're not a licensed manufacturer distributor in our state. He agreed to remove them. And then that's when we went and I had checked with, like I said, with Justin. And he assured me they still have the Doshes there. So I decided to do a site visit on 2/4 of this year. I went out and they had a new general manager. And Justin was no longer there. And when I went, I discussed with the GM, and Justin is the new, GM.
It's in her.
Yes, it's Justin. He told me he did not know anything about the Dosh. He didn't know that he wasn't supposed to sell them. And I advised him at that point in time, he has to remove them from the side of the consumer because they're not licensed. And he went in and he said, I will take care of it. He went out and removed all the Dosh products to the back of the store. And then Alexis and I went out, on the 10th, which was 6 days later. They had moved them all back out inside of the consumer. And like I said, Alexis and I took photographs, brought them back, and Justin was like, I don't know what to do. Because he said, pretty much, I'm at the mercy of this company because I work for them. And I told them they have got to remove them. And that's when.
We also have pictures of them removing.
Yeah, we do have pictures of them removing them out of the view of the consumer again. After we left, he was pretty much told by the owners that put them back out in display because it was pretty much the attitude was, I do not care, put them back out there. So that's where, and I had not been back since to go out there. Well, I didn't go back at that time to see if they were still out there, but it's to my understanding they were still there because Justin, I called. They said, yes, ma'am, they're still there. And they're out and they are being sold. And
I believe Justin told you, they told him business as usual.
yes, business as usual is
So-
what they said.
And Justin no longer works there, but he did provide an email statement.
Yes.
Which we're not presenting right now,
Yeah.
but we do have a statement. John, you want to touch on Dosh?
Sure. All three of us, Margie, Alexis, and I have emailed these folks. I think Alexis has talked to some folks on the phone. I finally got a response back on the email that I sent to them on April 3rd. And it's here in your packet. You're welcome to read it.
Yeah, we did include that.
And basically what the email I sent to them was that, you know, hey, you need to get a license. You got 2 dealers here in the state, and I named those dealers that want to sell or have dealer agreements to sell Doc, but they can't sell them because you're not a licensed distributor. And to contact Alexis or Margie as soon as possible to get licensed. And you can see here the response that I got back, which was basically, we'll take care of it. So as of today, that
Right, and I think it's important for the commissioners to read this email because I'll point you to a couple different sections here. We fully understand and respect the Arkansas Motor Vehicle Commission's regulatory requirements regarding manufacturing distributor licensing. Then on down, regarding the reference dealer agreements, these arrangements were established solely for preliminary purposes, including dealer qualification review and preparation for future operations. We emphasize we are fully aware of compliance requirements and Dodge electric vehicles will not engage in any sales or distribution activities in the state of Arkansas until the appropriate license has been officially obtained. Well, that's nice, but that's not true. They're already engaging in sales and distribution activities in the state as of right now. And I even looked on their website yesterday and they have Lone Star listed as one of their dealers on the website. So, you know, they still haven't applied for the license. John's great. And I checked this morning, still nothing.
In reference to this email was sent to John. However, if you look, it was sent on April 3rd. I have been in contact with them since well before Margie's initial investigation in September. And I have email of them saying they're gonna get licensed in the system to get licensed, but I have received nothing.
Provided them all the application links and everything. So
And not just one person, several different Dosh employees.
And I think it's important for context for the commissioners to understand that when we discover a situation like this, we always, you know, try to work with the dealer and the manufacturer distributor. It's like, hey, look, get a license. We'll get the dealer license. We'll work this out, pay the fee. and we'll get your agreement, we'll get you signed up, we're good. We always give them a chance to do that, find somebody who's not in compliance before we have to do anything else. So, but in this case, I mean, we've been trying to do that for months and months and months
I'll
now.
even say that my original communication with them was before manufacturer renewal season. And usually when we're not in renewal season, I'll tell someone, if you submit this to me, I can probably get it approved within weeks. So they have known since the beginning that it's not a long process. We're not Texas or some of the other states where this would take longer. This is like, you fill something out online, I give it to Daniel for approval, and we go from there.
Where are they located?
Manufacturing.
Florida,
Or
Orlando, Florida.
It sounds like a very significant situation. But is there, Aaron,
well, that's all. I think that the commission has a few options here. So they can send a letter to DOSH, or have the commission send the commission staff send a letter to DOSH telling them we have to be licensed by a certain date to continue to do business in Arkansas. You can send a consent agreement and do the same thing. You're required to submit the application within a certain amount of time, find the money, use things like that, or you can set up a hearing, have them come and answer the questions.
is there not a secondary side of this for the consent agreement against the dealers that are displaying products that also?
There are, in fact, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think there are two parallel complaints, one against the dealer, one against the.
Yeah, it would be two separate ones. Yeah.
So you could do the same with either one. You could tell the dealer, send a letter, stop selling these. They're not, they don't have a manufacturer's license. You can send a consent agreement to the dealer for hearing, and you can do those same three things for the manufacturer.
Said there was another dealer in the state selling dumpster equipment.
Was Dino Equipment.
They wanted.
They wanted to.
They wanted to, they couldn't.
They want to, but Mr.
And-
Burkheimer understands that he
To
can't.
be clear, it's not just those two dealers, other dealers have reached out regarding this, and they just go, hey, is this a manufacturer in our state?
That-
They know it.
And that's another important issue because I have had certain people contact me and be like, why, they're doing this, why can't I sell? You know, that
Start that's open. So,
Yeah.
They're owned by a out of state organization that has dealerships in multiple states.
Yeah.
And they sell this product in multiple.
Yeah, everywhere.
I would support the consent agreement. So, just see that just this and stuff.
Okay.
Okay. You got, there's a motion. Then why is your, if we're gonna do a motion, we're gonna decide we're gonna find one, start at the same time. And I think, I would make a motion that we enter into a consent agreement against the Lone Star to cease and desist the sale of Osh vehicles. And, also with $1,000 fine. And if they don't, then they're going to hear it, they're correct.
So you give them a deadline to sell,
Yeah, we're
stop the
doing
selling, also to submit.
Okay, that might be immediately.
It would be better if you had a date on it.
I don't hurry.
Sure.
Cease and desist the selling of April 30th.
They go to both manufacturer and that dealer.
And that's gonna force Lone Star to put pressure on Dodge to get a license to be our next year consent agreement. So my motion would be that they cease and desist the selling of, against Lone Star, cease and desist the selling of Dodge vehicles by April 30th and $1,000 fine.
Okay, but Jimmy Joe. So moved and seconded that we, the consent agreement with cease and the Dodge, I'm not saying that
Sale of
right,
Dodge.
the sale of Dodge vehicle with $1,000 fine by April 30th, 2026. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So then you move to the manufacturer. Does the manufacturer need a consent agreement or do we just call them for hearings? Try to get it.
That would be, so
Which way gets it manufactured? Because now we got a dealer that's got 36 pieces of inventory. You need this manufacturing license, so you come to Steve.
You know, and the only thing with the hearing is we have to provide proper notice, and there's always the chance that they can request an extension to prepare for the hearing.
I mean, if you're gonna do this, you put money on it up front, that gets their attention.
I would send the same thing to the manufacturer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
as I
would.
did the dealer.
I will.
The same amount.
Well,
I think 2,500. That's what I was thinking. To look on
I
this.
started to say double it, but I'll get 25.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
everybody all right with that motion on that?
So I'm making that.
Is the date the same?
I'm sure yes.
I think that's very appropriate, because I don't think the commission's to tolerate manufacturers selling.
I'll make
stuff.
that we, send the consent agreement to Dosh with a fine of $4,500.
I'll second.
Been moved.
And is that also going to mandate they have their application in by?
Yes,
Yes.
It'll be there.
and then they have their application in by April 30th.
Yep.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded that we send Dosh a consent agreement. You find the $2,500. And they have to get in their application by April the 30th. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Hey, those motions already been voted on and everything, but I have a question about it. What if they choose just to not sell them in Arkansas?
Are we talking about Bosch?
Then you're gonna have civil law, you're gonna have lawsuits.
It's so 37.
Well, but that's between Lone Star and Dosh.
That's right. That doesn't.
If they choose, if they just choose not to get a license and not sell them in Arkansas, then I guess they gotta come get what they got.
And the dealer is.
Or Lone Star's gotta redistribute them to their other stores that are where they're licensed.
That's competitive.
But
Back up just a minute.
would the fine still be enforceable?
It would be enforceable, it would be difficult to collect.
But it would solve the problem.
Yeah.
If they just chose that Arkansas is gonna be a state where we don't sell these.
And that fine would sit out there if they came back 5 years from now, apply for a manufacturing license.
Oh, for sure.
They would have to pay that plus penalties.
That could be a condition of the new license.
Yeah. Okay.
But the dealer that's got these, there's no obligation for them to buy them back because they're not licensed to the state.
Shouldn't.
No, but they have dealerships in other states where they are licensed to sell
Yes, sir.
them, so they can redistribute.
They can move the product.
37 of them.
The dealer here's got to try to do that. The distributor, he just throws his hands up.
Yeah, well,
I got my money.
That's not on the distributor, you're right, that would be on the dealership,
It's on
the Lone Star organization, which is a multi-state organization. Yeah.
Based on their other Lone Star dealer.
We've given them a pause that we're not short of time here, so let's see what happens and then visit the next time.
Can I say something about that? I didn't say that during the time that I was doing the report. Austin, that's in Florida, he agreed to move these units to other states. He just never did it.
Yeah.
That is true. He does.
They're testing us.
Yeah, that's what they're
You and
doing.
John get a lot of promises.
They'll say anything to your face and they do whatever they want after you're gone.
Okay, moving along. See, voluntary license surrender agreements, we have 4 of them here, and they're in your,
Yeah, there's 5. Now, one of these, I will say that we might want to. Is there a way for us to say, well, we can't, I guess we'll do,
your five.
we need to separate one out for, I guess, Michael, Matt for RV Center, because he spoke up. So he doesn't get a vote on that one. So we need to, I guess we can do a batch of approval, or I could just abstain from all
Well, we could handle that separately.
yeah, we can just do a separate vote on it. That's probably the best way to do it. So we
I move we accept the voluntary license surrender for Mashburn RV Center.
Second.
Second, Jimmy Jones.
It's been moved and seconded that we, accept the voluntary license surrender, Mashburn RV Center. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Michael abstained. Okay. Now. Mike.
Y'all wanna look these over?
Cat Customs is the one at Russellville that Mr. Johnson knows they're no longer carrying any products that we license. Bill White Ford is surrendering the Louisville license. It's moved to Mansfield. D3, Price to Dodge Jeep Ram, that's the one in West Memphis that Darrell saw sold to Andrews. Which you saw earlier, Mashburn, obviously we approved, that's Michael bought that. And then Harley Davidson Jonesboro is surrendering their license because Osmond Harley Davidson Jonesboro is the new one. So that's. Sure.
I make a motion to accept the full surrender agreements as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we approve the four, people that we have noted on paper for a license surrender. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, moving right along. There's no documents for this one, Mr. Joy. I just want to give a quick update on the rule promulgation for the Rule 4 amendment that you guys voted on at the March 30th meeting. So that process is moving along. We're currently in the public comment period. Public comment period lasts until May 3rd. So we'll report back if we get any public comments. But we're still in the middle of that process. Once that wraps up, then we'll move on to the next phase, which is submitting any public comments and everything over to BLR and legislature for final. So we're moving right along on that. Everything's going well. We've gotten all the documents sent out, everything we're supposed to do, including the public notice on our website and then this representative. So of the public comment period. So we were right along with that. Good.
All right.
That moves us to the grant program for 326. So,
In your book, if you want.
I had Alexis draw up a list of all the applicants we've got. Obviously, the deadline was March 31st, so just a couple weeks ago. So we actually got 19 applications this year, 19 different applications. And you see the requested amounts over here from all these different schools. We did have some new schools apply this year, which I was glad to see that. So we'll have some new funding opportunities this year. But I wanted to give everybody an idea of the full amount requested and the amounts that these folks are requesting for this year. And obviously you'll see the applications themselves, but as I've explained many times, I have to meet with the Office of Skills Development, Higher Education, Career Education Administrators. They're the funding recommendation committee. They make their recommendations back to the commission. Then you guys get to vote on those recommendations. And that will be at May 20th. I will vote on the recommendations then because I still have to meet those folks and get on their schedule to actually have a meeting about it. And Alexis and I will have our spreadsheet pulled up at the meeting and notate everything and have that present to you at the May meeting so we can authorize funding. And then once you guys vote on funding, we'll get the warrants to that. So obviously with the amount here, you see 404,000 total requests. We're not going to be able to, we can only fund 250 max. So we're going to have to make some decisions about, how we structure that. And I will say the funding committee of those people, they do work parents all the time. So they're very good about trying to help us out with recommendations on the funding for that. And they deal with a lot of these programs on other funding mechanisms too. So they're familiar with these folks. And I know they'll make good recommendations back to you. So yeah, we'll report back on the
Sure. Thank you.
Once we got that.
Their report. It's a good thing. You all need it. Library and Licensing Board and Commission's appropriation for 2026-27 fiscal year.
Yes, ma'am. This is something I wanted to show you guys. This is our proposed budget. And we're in the middle of a fiscal session for the legislature right now, which is where they authorize all the state budgets for the year. So this is our portion of HB 1006, which is the Department of Labor and License Appropriations Bill that's before the fiscal session. These 2 pages, so you're going to see basically the proposed budget for our salaries for all the positions, as well as our general operating expenses, travel, all of that stuff. And what you will, and also the grant fund here as well, were appropriated for fiscal year 27 for 250 again. And what you'll see if you look at that proposed budget is it's basically the same budget as fiscal year 26. So very flat. I don't anticipate any issues with the legislature approving. We're not asking for anything beyond what we have asked for. So we don't anticipate any issues. That doesn't mean they won't.
So do you go before them and speak also?
If they ask me,
If they ask you,
I try to
avoid that.
avoid possibly.
I think
If they want me over there, I'll go over there.
I didn't know if that was
I
something.
mean, we try to make it pretty uncontroversial, so I'm assuming we can get out of it. That's kind of fun. You never know what question they ask.
No,
Uh,
don't. I've been through.
we don't
that.
anticipate any issue. We're not
Not
asking.
you, the family.
So, but yeah, that's what it's gonna look like for next year.
Well, that's right.
And there's no motions on
And I was
that.
gonna say, we don't need to approve.
No, it's just a update for you guys to know what we're dealing with, so
All right.
to look ahead.
Okay, the BLP.
The next one I had, yeah, there's no documents for this yet, but I wanted to give the commissioners an update. So as you all know, we're on the ELP, RLP Regulatory License and Permits platform now for all of our licensing. It's a fully digital platform. What I've been discussing with our IT director here is he's responsible for implementing changes to the ELP platform, and they've already done this for some other agencies up here that I've had a chance to look at. At the commission level, Ms. Joy, you would know this, in terms of complaint tracking, investigation tracking, for the longest time here, it's all been paper files, just paper. And this day and age, especially now that we're on a completely digital licensing platform, we actually have the ability now to build in a complaint tracking system within the licensing platform that we can actually interface and affiliate with license profiles if we want to, but also just it would make things a lot easier for us going forward to keep up with everything in a digital format where we're not having to scan files in and keep up with paper files and get rid of paper files. So, and it's the best thing is since we're already on the ELP platform, it's not going to be an extra cost. So I've still got to work with Ken to design what that's going to look like in the system, and I'll have more update you on that later. But the goal is we're going to build a digital complaint tracking system within ELP, which will allow us to go away from having to keep up with paper files. So yeah, that's the goal.
So there's nothing like that built before.
No, the commission has never had a digital
We are.
system. Now, there are other options out there that you can get a whole new third-party system, build it, and it would be a fancy thing, but that costs a lot of money. Don't want to.
Yeah, most things are going digitally. I know when I send reports to tourism, I had to put it in a box, I had to send it here. The first time, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I've learned how to do that.
Well, that's what most things are.
Yeah.
So it would make it easier for us to work.
I agree. Well, that's good.
So that's the question. But we're still working on it. So,
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That'll make it easier for all of us.
Yes. And would also be able, obviously be able to print reports out.
Right, and then you
Correct.
can see it because they'll all
Yes, because they're all going to have
overlap each other.
a sign on it. So these last 2 items do require.
Okay.
So the first one is,
Is this what we're looking?
what
is this?
that's the last item. So the first one is, remember I sent out the CSA for everybody to look at. It's 186 pages. I didn't want to print a copy for the file for every person. But essentially that CSA, the control self-assessment for 2026, as Ms. Joy will tell you, because she's had to do one before, that's something that the commission is required
Not for me, but for the director.
for the director, for I did it this time with John and Margie and Alexis chipping in. We have to do that every 2 years and submit it to the Office of Internal Audit. And essentially what that is, if you guys looked at it, is our risk controls for the commission that the auditors look at. It's like, how do you make sure that, you know, there's no fraud, there's no issues, everything, complaints, financial, all of that stuff. So yeah, it was 186 pages. I want everybody to look at it, but the Secretary and Tyler, our CFO here, have already signed off on it, already submitted it. It's already been submitted as required to Office of Internal Audit. But I didn't want you all to be able to look at it and approve it. So we can say that you did that. And happy to take care of that so you guys don't have to do it. Trust me.
Believe me,
If you had to see the system I have to work with when I do that, oh my gosh, it's so convoluted. They need to update their system.
I move we approve self-control self-assessment for 2026.
I said that word. Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we approved the EMC control assessment for 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right. Now we're on the last one.
That's right.
So I sent along the background information on this rule amendment for everybody to look at, as well as the addition we're doing. I've mentioned this a couple times at meetings, just kind of offhandedly to kind of let you know that this may come up. And if you look at the background section there in terms of the reason for the rule that we put in there, that kind of explains where this is coming from. If you'll remember, we had an issue recently with Walmart where they were selling e-bikes and scooters at the store license. So just on this, Rule 5 is our rule that we define all of those products we determine are specialty vehicles that are exempt from regulation by the commission. And so the issue here is the Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes, which I think most of you know what e-bikes are, that they have a motor on them. Those are the ones that only go up to 20 miles per hour. Because of the way the rule is written currently with two-wheel vehicles, it only allows for up to 16 miles per hour. But at the same time, we don't necessarily want to change any of the language of that section of the rule that addresses the two-wheel because it also addresses other vehicles. So what I and legal counsel came up with on this amendment, which has been approved by the governor's office and the secretary already, they're okay with this language, is to say, okay, let's just add a section to Rule 5 that exempts Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes, which will then allow these large retailers to sell them e-bikes without a license. And also, specifically, it's only Class 1 and Class 2, which are the ones that go up to 20, but we're not exempting Class 3 e-bikes, which are the ones that can go 28, 30 miles per hour. So they are okay with that. So that's what's before you. If you see, I also included in red here on Rule 5, so this shows you we're basically just proposing that we add this section T onto the exemptions of the rule. So basically we'll just be adding a section to the rule. And remember, when we add a section to the rule or amend the rule, we don't have to do anything. We can do that without having to do away with it. So this is, we're just adding to it and then adding to it. And again, this requires commission approval before we can start here at the commission with our attorneys can start the rule promulgation process. So on this amendment as well, we would have a 30-day comment period and obviously submit to veto legislature for approval. So this would be falling a little bit behind the other one. So it's going to be on a different track, but if you guys approve of it, then we go into the other part of the promulgation process. We have 12 comments. But my understanding is on this that everyone is okay with the language of governor's office and all authorities. So this has been requested. So we need a motion to accept the language presented
Now, we're,
Yeah, I think it could be right, Aaron, just the Rule 5 amendments, section. Is that, say, accept the Rule 5 amendment?
yes, I make a motion that we accept the Rule 5 amendment as it pertains to the Section 3 nights.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the amendment 5. Section adding to T, Rule 5. Electric lights classified as type 142. Operating speed 20 miles per hour. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Can't forget our.
Yeah, please don't.
I was gonna say,
adjourn.
Second.
moved and seconded.
Are we ready to adjourn?
Does
Does anybody have
have any
any?
comments?
I was gonna ask one other question, but what about, there's a strong element of e-bike advertising where you buy them online and they ship them to you when they're coming from out of state, of course, like through Amazon and other places. Those are unregulated.
I guess it would.
I get advertising saying that you can buy this new bike and it has 1,000 kW motor and run 28 miles an hour. I've got a new bike. It's an older one. It is so,
That sounds like a class 3, so that would not.
Yeah.
Make sense.
but even if people are buying them online, that's what I'm saying. They're not coming from local dealers.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of regulation on that?
Aaron, what's and we've kind of talked about this.
Yeah.
before. That gets into some tricky waters. Yeah. Is it just, are you seeing it on Amazon?
On Facebook, other places. I've clicked on a few of them because I'm interested maybe in upgrading. I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
But I was just curious about that.
I think we would have to look at it on a, yeah.
And I don't want to open a can of worms necessarily, but
Well, it's like you already did.
well, that's why we're not.
Yeah, the legal question is gonna be where did the sale take place?
Yeah.
And,
Point of sale.
right, the point of sale, and so that's where it would get real contested real quick. I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I hadn't done anything. I'm still writing on.
It's a good question. I mean,
We'll look into it.
Yeah.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you. I gotta go see.
get that Alexis.
I gotta go see Michael speaker now.
Yes.
The floor and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you. I gotta go see.
Get that Alexis.
I gotta go see Michael speaker now.